All right, we're going to dive into something that is honestly pretty unsettling. It's this idea that you can be the very picture of health while hiding a fatal secret. Today, we're unpacking the healthy heart attack. Let's just jump right in with a number that should absolutely stop you in your tracks. 50%. For half of all men who have heart disease, there's no warning. No chest pain, no shortness of breath, nothing. The very first symptom they have is their last. It is, quite literally, a silent killer.
So, that leads to the one huge central question of this whole explainer. How is that even possible, right? How can a person who eats clean, who exercises, who feels absolutely fantastic, be a walking time bomb and have no idea? Well, let's find out.
This brings us right to what we call the healthy heart attack paradox. It's this deep conflict between how you feel on the outside and what is actually secretly going on inside your body. It is a truly dangerous illusion. And this is what makes it so terrifyingly personal. I mean, just think about that for a second. You can be out there running a 10K, feeling amazing, having absolutely zero symptoms, all while the deadliest kind of blockage is silently growing inside you. So why? How? Well, here's the kicker. Your body is an absolute master of adaptation. It's so good, in fact, it can hide a blockage that's 90% complete. It just finds ways to work around the problem, keeping blood flowing perfectly, leaving you feeling great, right up until the very moment everything just stops. To really get how this happens, we've got to go inside. We need to take a look at the anatomy, at the heart's actual plumbing system, where this danger is quietly building. So your heart is wrapped in this whole network of blood vessels called coronary arteries. You can think of them like a root system for a tree, delivering all that vital oxygen. Now, the main trunk of that system, the big one, is called the left anterior descending artery, or the LAD. And in the ER, it has a very grim nickname, the Widowmaker, because a blockage right there is so often fatal. So how does this supercritical artery get clogged without you having any clue? Well, this brings us to maybe the biggest plot twist of this whole story. Your body isn't just a passive victim here. It actually helps hide the danger from you. It all starts with something called plaque. So first, things like high blood pressure or even just the stress from really intense exercise can act like sandpaper on the super smooth inner lining of your arteries, creating these tiny little tears. Second, your body sends in LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, to act like spackle and patch up the damage. And finally, your immune cells rush in to clean up the mess. They eat up the cholesterol, and that whole mix hardens into what we know as plaque. And this right here, this is the single biggest misconception about heart disease that we have to clear up. We all have this image in our heads of a pipe just slowly clogging up, right? Like a kitchen drain. You'd notice things slowing down. But that is not how it works. The reality is that as the plaque builds up inside the artery wall, the wall itself actually stretches outward to make room for it. Now, this wild process actually has a name. It's called positive remodeling. And it's the entire reason this paradox exists. Because the artery stretches outward, the opening for your blood to flow through stays wide open. You can have massive plaque buildup with completely normal blood flow, and you can pass a stress test with flying colors, all while having absolutely zero symptoms. It's crazy. Okay, so we know how the time bomb gets hidden. Now let's talk about how it goes off. There are basically two main ways this silent plaque can suddenly turn into a full-blown disaster. The first way is a type 1 heart attack. This is the rupture. A soft, unstable bit of plaque suddenly bursts open. Your body freaks out, thinks it's a huge wound, and forms a massive blood clot to seal it off. And just like that, bam, it plugs the artery like a cork in a wine bottle. The second way is a type 2 heart attack. You can think of this as an energy crisis. This is what often happens to athletes, when the heart's demand for oxygen during some intense exercise just completely overwhelms what a partially blocked artery can deliver. So let's look at Robert's story to really get this. He's a 50-year-old, super disciplined runner. During a race, he doesn't get that classic crushing chest pain. He just feels weird and nauseous. At the hospital, they confirm he's had a heart attack. But here's the twist. His artery was only 50% blocked. It was a classic case of supply just not being able to keep up with demand. And you can see it exactly what was happening to his heart right here. When he's just resting, sitting on the couch, that 50% blockage doesn't matter. The blood supply is way more than the demand. But during that race, his heart's demand for blood just went through the roof. And that narrowed artery simply could not deliver enough. The heart muscles started to suffocate.
And this leads us to one of the most important takeaways from all of this. Get this. The vast majority of heart attacks are not caused by those giant 90% blockages we'll picture. Nope. They're caused by the smaller ones, less than 50%, because that newer, softer plaque is way more unstable and much, much more likely to just suddenly rupture.
So, if the danger is this sneaky, what in the world are we supposed to do about it? Let's shift gears from the problem to the solution. How do we find this hidden culprit, and what are the signals we should be looking for? Okay, first, a quick lesson in urgency. In the emergency room, there's a saying, time is muscle. And they are not kidding. After a blockage happens, irreversible damage starts in just 20 minutes. Within an hour, a significant amount of heart tissue is already dead. And by 90 minutes, that living muscle is turning into scar tissue that can't pump anymore. Every single second counts. And recognizing the symptoms is absolutely key. Men often get that Hollywood heart attack, the crushing chest pain, pain down the arm. But for women, it's often so much more subtle and atypical. Things like extreme sudden fatigue, shortness of breath, even intense acid reflux or nausea, or sometimes just this overwhelming sense of doom. These are all huge red flags you can never, ever ignore. But, the real goal is to find the problem long before you ever have symptoms. And for that, we need to look at technology. Let's talk about your heart's true early warning system. Now, here's a critical fact. Your standard cholesterol panel from your doctor, it's not enough. All that tells you is if you have the ingredients for plaque floating around in your blood. It tells you absolutely nothing about whether those ingredients are actually building up on your artery walls. For that, you need imaging. The first step is a coronary artery calcium scan, or a CAC score. It's a super fast 5-minute scan that's looking for old, hardened, calcified plaque. A score of 0, that's fantastic. A score over 400, that basically means you've got a ticking time bomb that needs immediate attention. But the real game changer, the ultimate tool, is the CT angiogram, or CTA. This is the only scan that can see the most dangerous villain in this whole story, that soft, unstable, non-calcified plaque. These are the little blister-like deposits that are most likely to rupture and cause that sudden, fatal heart attack. This scan basically sees the fire before the whole house burns down. So we end up right back where we started. You cannot feel heart disease. The whole paradox of the healthy heart attack is that feeling great is just not a reliable sign of what's going on inside your arteries. So the crucial question you have to start asking yourself isn't, how do I feel? It's, what does my data actually show?